Okay, it's wrapping up the dinim of tzitzis and getting to the dinim of tefillin. Okay, so even though we discussed it, there's no biblical mitzvah or rabbinic mitzvah that you have to wear tzitzis. Nevertheless, halacha says if you don't wear tzitzis, it's a big punishment because of the concept of the importance of tzitzis. And whoever wears tzitzis, the Gemara says, you see the divine presence. Huh? No, in Shema Yisrael it says, if you have a four-cornered garment, you need to wear tzitzis. We said already, there are certain mitzvahs you have to do. You have to put on tefillin every day. Yeah? Mezuzah, you don't have to do mezuzah. If you want to be in the street, you're not obligated to buy a house to put up a mezuzah. There's a mitzvah called shchita. Yeah? If I don't want to eat meat, I don't have a mitzvah shchita. The mitzvah of tzitzis biblically is when you have a four-cornered garment, you need to put tzitzis on the garment. If I chose not to have a four-cornered garment, then I don't need to put tzitzis. That's the halacha. But it says in Shulchan Aruch that a person should go out of the way because of the importance of tzitzis. It reminds us of all the mitzvahs in the Torah and everything else, so a person should go out. So even Kitzur says, it's a great punishment for somebody who doesn't keep the mitzvah tzitzis, and the one who is careful mitzvah tzitzis merits to see the Shechina. Okay, next dinim is the dinim of tefillin. Now, tefillin is obviously not like tzitzis. Tefillin is a mitzvah that you need to wear every day, except Shabbos and Yom Tov. Now, it says, the Gemara says, the whole Torah is likened to the mitzvah of tefillin. Huksha kol Torah kula tefillin, because the pasuk it says, by tefillin, leman tiyeh Torah Hashem beficha, that the Torah of Hashem should be in your mouth. That says in the parsha of tefillin. So therefore, tefillin is a very, very important mitzvah. And the Gemara says like this: a person who doesn't wear tefillin is called Pesha Yisrael Begufam, meaning he is bodily fighting the Jews. He's a body with his body. He's a negligent Jew because a person has to put on tefillin. Then it goes even further. It says, what happens if somebody wears non-kosher tefillin? By the way, the tefillin are not kosher. So he says, not only are they not wearing tefillin, they're not getting the mitzvah at all of wearing tefillin, but in addition to that, they're making all the brachas in vain. Every bracha they made on tefillin, if they're not kosher tefillin, then you're getting a bracha, saying a bracha in vain.
Why don't you compare it to a Sefer Torah? Like if you read a Sefer Torah and you find a mistake in the Sefer Torah.
So it's not kosher.
No, I know it's not kosher, but all of the brachas that they made before, it's considered.
Not necessarily, but by tefillin it's a different story. Tefillin is a mitzvah putting on tefillin. Okay? If you're not putting on tefillin, you're taking toy boxes and putting them on, and you're making a bracha, you're saying a bracha in vain. Tefillin is different than Sefer Torah. A mistake in the Sefer Torah you can fix most of the time, because Sefer Torah doesn't have to be written in order. It doesn't have to be kisidron. Tefillin have to be written kisidron. So if there's certain times the letter is puzzled in the middle, you can't fix the letter because you have to rewrite the whole tefillin. But Sefer Torah and tefillin in that respect, yeah. But tefillin is worse. So he says, therefore, a person has to be extremely careful that they buy kosher tefillin, and they have to buy it from a Yireh Shamayim, and the scraps they should buy from a person that has Yireh Shamayim.
How often should you check them?
Okay, we're going to come to that in a second. So, tefillin and mezuzah should be checked twice in 7 years. Why the cheshvan twice in 7 years, not every 3.5 years, whatever? Halachically, tefillin have to be checked, or a private mezuzah, a private person, has to be checked twice in 7 years. Public mezuzah, like a shul or a place like that, once in 50 years. But that's mezuzah, not private mezuzah. Private mezuzah and tefillin have to be checked halachically twice in 7 years. The Rebbe always quotes the Mateh Ephraim and other poskim that write it's appropriate that every year in Elul you check your tefillin.
Why not?
Because it's a time of doing tshuva. getting better. In the month of El, you get do tshuva. So there, it's appropriate time to check tefillin. But halachically, it's mandatory to do it twice in 7 years. What?
They've signed tefillin. They use just someone says they have a din of public or private
private. They're yours privately. You own them.
It's easy for the public.
You own it. It's yours. A shul mezuzah is owned by whom?
Shul.
By the public, by the rabbin. So it has to be checked once in 50 years. Your own personal tefillin, on the contrary, you have to be more careful because if it, God forbid, is not kosher, more people are making brachas in vain than just you as an individual. Understand? So you have to be very careful. But the main thing is like this. I'm going to tell you something. There's a lot of replicas. It was just a thing not long ago that, the ritzuas have to be leather. The straps have to be leather. There was a time people were selling plastic straps that looked very like leather. And many times it was hard to tell apart. You needed an expert actually to be able to tell apart the difference between plastic. Therefore, b'chlal, when you buy tefillin, you have to make sure you're buying it from a religious person that has Yiras Shamayim, that's fear of God. That he's not going to sell you puzzle tefillin just to make a few bucks. And you need to make sure that the tzur are properly worked out. And, if you just think for 2 minutes, how long it takes a sefer to write tefillin, or even a mezuzah. People hear mezuzah, $50, $100, $180. Whoa. If you think about it, it takes a sefer a few hours to write a mezuzah. Even a mezuzah. It's not a printing press. It could take a few hours to write a mezuzah. Plus the parchment costs money. Yeah, the parchment's expensive. It's parchment. It's not cheap. So, how much can the guy make already? If he charges $50, let's say it takes him 2 hours. This for argument's sake, it takes him 2 hours to write tefillin. He's making $25 an hour, minus the parchment and minus all the in-between guys. By the time it gets to the store that you're buying it from for $50, there were three, probably the sefer, and then the wholesaler and the retailer. Yeah. So how much do you think the sefer is going to make already? That means the one guy's making $5 on it, $10 on it. So by the time the sefer end up doing it, the sefer maybe spent 2 hours and made $30. It's $15 an hour. The guy can't live plus the parchment, plus the ink, plus everything. So people have to understand tefillin takes a long time to write, and now tefillin is the worst thing, and mezuzah also. If a guy makes a mistake, a sefer writes a sefer Torah, yeah? He makes a mistake. He crosses it out. There's a way of scraping it off, and he writes it again. Big deal. A guy can spend 10 hours on tefillin, and the last word he makes a mistake, the whole thing's puzzled. And he has to start all over again. So people have to understand that tefillin take a very long time to write. The boxes, the bottom of the tefillin have to be square. There have to be certain materials. It's very difficult to make tefillin. So a guy hears a pair of tefillin, $500, $600, $700. That's very cheap if you think about it. The amount of work that went in, plus the leather, plus the wholesalers and the retailers, it's impossible not to. So therefore, you should know a good pair of tefillin today, the real good pair of tefillin today, are $1,800. And people, that's what it costs. And lasts longer than a big screen, by the way. The big screen is also, I don't know what they charge today for big screens. But tefillin lasts longer than a big screen.
Because you check them every year. Big screen, you don't care.
Okay, but you throw it out after 2 years.
Okay, let me explain. It's like mezuzah people are touching every day.
They don't touch the mezuzah.
Yes, every day.
They're touching the case. What does it have to do with the mezuzah?
So what? Putting on tefillin, what are you touching? You have to check once. Wrapping it in the bottom.
Oh, you mean because it's wrapped in the thing, why do you have to check it? So technically, halacha says like this. Really, you don't have to check it. Once you know at the chazaka being kosher, it could be. But nevertheless, Shulchan Aruch says because the air gets in and letters fade and things get messed up. You need especially. The worst thing somebody could do, by the way, is leave the tefillin in your car. If you leave your tefillin in your trunk, inevitably they're going to become puzzle. Because the heat will make the ink smear. Run off. It's going to make it melt. So people have to be very careful with tefillin. I mean, tefillin you have to store in in a proper place. You can't just put tefillin in your car. And people have to check tefillin. They have to make sure that it was bought the chatchila from a proper person. And smaller tefillin, by the way, smaller tefillin are much harder to write than bigger tefillin because you're writing mamish tiny. So people have to be careful. There was a time mezuzahs, and sometimes tefillin also, they would smear it. They would smear the mezuzah with like an oil, with like a thin layer, and then it would be the letters would hold better. The problem with that was, as soon as that film came off, the letters came off. So let's say somebody rolled a mezuzah, and by mistake it was a little fold. That's going to wreck the smearing that they smear it, and then the letters are going to become puzzle. So people have to be extremely careful when you buy tefillin to make sure that it's a proper tefillin. And now,
Is this a new link? They said there's a new link that doesn't smear.
I don't know, could be, but it has to be made from kosher things. This passage that we said, why tefillin is likened to the whole Torah, because it says the mantia Torah Hashem beficha, the Torah Hashem should be in your mouth, which refers to tefillin. So the Gemara learns out from there another interesting thing, that because it says the Torah of tefillin have to be in beficha in your mouth, the Gemara learns out from there what the Torah means is you have to, every part of tefillin, say for Torah and mezuzahs, that's according to all the Rishonim, have to be from kosher things.
So even animal was.
For instance, an animal, the parchment for tefillin and mezuzah and Sefer Torah, has to come from a kosher animal, even if it's not shechted. The animal doesn't have to be shechted, the Gemara says. It has to be an animal that you would be allowed to eat if it was shechted. But you can't write it, let's say, on pig skin, or camel skin, or horse skin, or whatever it is, parchment, whatever. You wouldn't be. The same thing, the ink has to be made from kosher ingredients that you would be allowed to eat. The whatever it is, all parts of the veins that they sew up the tefillin.
Could the ink be synthetic?
Yeah, it could be synthetic, but there has to be in a way that is kosher. So again, people have to be very careful in the tefillin they buy. Now, it's later, but when do you have to wear tefillin? So according to Kabbalah and Halach and Kabbalah, the tefillin have to be on you at least. Technically, you put on tefillin for a second, you take them off, you did the mitzvah of tefillin. Halacha, it doesn't say you have to wear tefillin when you daven. You put on tefillin, Thursday, put on tefillin, halachically. But, nevertheless, it says in halacha, that should be at the time of Cheshvan davening, that Arizal writes that during the whole davening. But again, if a person puts on tefillin for a second, like you go mivtzoim, right? You put on tefillin, the guy, you say Shema Yisrael Baruch Shem, and you take off the tefillin. So then the guy was yotze the mitzvah of tefillin. Tefillin and davening are two separate mitzvahs. It's just halach and kabbalistically they're connected, so you do both at the same time. But technically, let's say a guy, it came time for davening, there's no tefillin around. He should daven without tefillin. Later on, he'll have tefillin, because tefillin you could put on any time during the day, from sunrise to sundown. What?
What's the custom that I see you putting on two pairs?
We'll get to the Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. That's it's a separate thing. Okay.
People work together.
Start putting them, you're gonna understand.
Ma'achad